In the cutthroat world of corporate ambition, loyalty is often a myth. But imagine being the architect of a company's salvation, only to be deemed expendable. This is the story of Innovatech, a once proud tech giant teetering on the brink of collapse. Millions in debt, spiraling downwards, threatening hundreds of livelihoods. Families faced ruin. Careers built over decades hung by a thread. The future looked bleak, shadowed by the imminent threat of bankruptcy and mass layoffs. Then, a lifeline. A visionary leader, an outsider with an audacious plan, stepped into the chaos, tasked with the impossible, to resurrect Innovatech. She brought not just strategy, but an unwavering belief. Long nights, bold decisions, and a relentless drive began to chip away at the mountain of problems. Against all odds, under her leadership, the gears began to turn. The impossible began to seem possible. Hope, a forgotten emotion, returned to the hallways. Innovatech not only stabilized but soared. New product launches, record profits, and a revitalized workforce celebrated their improbable comeback. It was her victory. She was lauded, celebrated as the architect of their success, the strategic genius who pulled them back from the precipice. Her name was synonymous with their triumph. But behind the gleaming facade of success, shadows began to stir. A different kind of ambition, a hunger for control, started to fester in the executive suites. Then, the unthinkable. With the company stronger than ever, she was called into a meeting. The gratitude, the praise, vanished. She was fired. No explanation, no warning. Just a stark, brutal dismissal from the very company she had painstakingly rescued. Her reward for saving hundreds of jobs was losing her own. Why? Why would a company betray the very person who ensured its survival? This is the story of power, betrayal, and the cost of corporate ambition. The news hit like a physical blow. After months of tireless work, turning the company around, Sarah expected a bonus, perhaps a promotion. Instead, she received a termination notice. The official reason given for her dismissal was restructuring needs, a vague corporate euphemism that rang hollow. Sarah knew it was a lie, a cover for something far more sinister. Just 6 months prior, Integra Solutions was on the brink. Debts mounting, clients fleeing, morale plummeting. Sarah, as COO, was tasked with the impossible: salvage the sinking ship. Documents reveal the stark reality: a 40% drop in revenue, a negative cash flow for 3 consecutive quarters, and an urgent loan application rejection. Bankruptcy was not just a threat, it was imminent. Sarah implemented a radical plan, renegotiating supplier contracts, slashing wasteful expenditures, and crucially, rebuilding client trust through direct engagement and innovative solutions. Within months, the tide began to turn. Revenue stabilized, then climbed. Cash flow went positive. Integra Solutions was not just surviving, it was showing signs of robust recovery, directly attributable to Sarah's efforts. Her performance reviews from that period were stellar, consistently praising her leadership and strategic vision. There were even internal memos discussing potential bonuses for her team due to the turnaround. But as the company stabilized, an unsettling change began in CEO Marcus Thorne. His initial praise for Sarah cooled, replaced by subtle undermining and a growing distance. Colleagues, speaking anonymously, described a shift in office dynamics. It was like he couldn't stand her success, one former senior manager recalled. He wanted the credit for himself. The evidence pointed not to performance, but to power. With the company out of danger, Marcus Thorne seemingly sought to reassert control, and Sarah, with her undeniable success, became an inconvenient truth. Armed with an overwhelming paper trail, Sarah immediately sought legal counsel. The case for wrongful termination, and even discrimination, appeared strong, built on irrefutable evidence of her vital contributions. This wasn't just about her job, it was about justice. The firing was a betrayal, a deliberate attempt to erase her contribution. Sarah resolved to fight, to expose the truth behind Marcus Thorne's actions. The abrupt dismissal of someone so instrumental begs a profound question: why? Why would a leader discard the very person who pulled his company from the brink? One prevalent theory suggests she became a crisis manager's casualty. Once the storm passes, the very expertise needed to navigate it can become obsolete, or even an unwelcome reminder. Dr. Anna Reed, organizational psychologist: sometimes, leaders want to wipe the slate clean. The crisis leader, while effective, embodies the difficult past. It's a psychological reset. Another perspective points to a reassertion of power. During the crisis, the rescuer inevitably gains immense authority. The firing could be an attempt to restore the original hierarchy. Prof. Mark Chen, Business Ethics: when someone else saves your enterprise, it can challenge your own sense of capability. Reclaiming control, even ruthlessly, becomes paramount for some leaders. The most cynical theory centers on ego and credit. Was her success too bright? Did her continued presence overshadow the CEO, challenging his narrative as the ultimate leader? Dr. Ilara Vance, leadership consultant: narcissistic leaders cannot tolerate being outshone. The narrative must always belong to them. Anyone who threatens that is a liability. A starker explanation considers gender. Was the success of a woman in such a dominant role perceived as a threat in a traditionally male-dominated boardroom, leading to her eventual ousting? Dr. Sophia Khan, gender studies expert: women who succeed in highly visible, male-dominated roles often face a backlash. Their competence can be seen as aggression, their strength as a challenge. Perhaps it was simply a profound lack of empathy or strategic foresight. A failure to appreciate loyalty, or to understand the long-term value of such an experienced, proven leader. Prof. Mark Chen, Business Ethics: it's a failure of ethical leadership. The short-term gain of perhaps consolidating power overshadowed the long-term cost of losing invaluable talent and trust. While the precise motives remain debated, these theories paint a complex picture, reminding us that even in triumph, workplace dynamics can be unpredictable, and at times, cruelly human.